Hello everyone, Scott here. In this video, I'm going to cover the 8 things you need to expect as a service accommodation operator. Now, at Pillow, we are very clear and we like to set expectations in advance for our managed clients. We like to let them know what to expect within our industry because we don't want people going in with closed eyes and unrealistic expectations. If we set the expectations in advance, then there's no disappointment down the line. So with our clients, we send them lots of information, infographics, fact sheets. So I want to open this up and share this video of 8 things to expect as a service accommodation operator. Now, these things will probably happen if you're operating for any length of time. So let's go through these 8 things. Number 1. Guests will cancel unexpectedly. So you've got a booking, maybe it's a long booking, and guests will cancel. It's just a certainty of the industry. So there's no point being upset about that. Some will be so far away and it'll be free cancellation that hopefully you can re-let it. But some will be within the cancellation period and perhaps something bad has happened and they can't come for a really legitimate reason. There's some horrible reasons as to why we've cancelled bookings, but sometimes you might feel obliged out of decency, morality, or just being a good person to cancel their booking for free, even though it might leave you with a void. But sometimes it's just the right thing to do. We're in hospitality. We think of the overall reputation of our properties and the ratings. So we need to take this into consideration. But certainty number 1 is you will get cancelled bookings. And it's pointless being upset by this. It's just part of being a business owner. Number 2 is guests might leave a mess at the property. In fact, they probably will. Now, some people get very, very frustrated if it isn't left. And a lot of people say, Scott, I expect people to leave the property the way I would leave it. But the chances are you are not your guest. So if you've got a short-term lettings business with 2 guests a week, that's 100 guests a year. 5 years, that's 500 guests. You are going to get people leaving your property a mess. Now, it doesn't happen a lot and have security deposits, but it's pointless going in and seeing that and being really emotional about it because it's going to happen. We need to tell you this in advance. Certainty number 3 is at some point someone will break something. Guests are going to break things. Now, if it's a cup or a saucer or a glass, then these things are fine. It's part of operating a business. It should be part of your operating expenses. We would never recommend trying to get somebody's money and get for £20 to replace a glass or something. It's just going to leave you with a horrible negative review and an enemy rather than a brand ambassador or someone that's going to return. But things will get broken. If you have a property for any length of time, you'll get churn in some of your stuff. You'll need to replace things. So again, it's pointless being upset. If these things happen, we want to let people know to expect this in advance. So number 4 is it doesn't matter how amazing your property is, some people will still give it bad reviews. So you could have the perfect property that you've put your blood, sweat and tears into. Some people are just weird, they will give it a bad review. We had one that gave us a 1-star review because they walked out and stood in dog dirt on the city centre street. Nothing to do with us, we couldn't have controlled it, but they gave us a bad review. And that was in the early days and I get very emotional about that. And I now know these things happen. You will get rogue bad reviews regardless of how amazing a host you are, how well you treat the people, how amazing your property is. We don't need to get emotional about these things. We just need to manage it. We need to try and do things to incentivize them to take it down. Probably can't change it, or make sure our counter reviews are such as anyone reading that to see that we are being reasonable and it makes those other people seem unreasonable. And you know what? Negative reviews is free feedback for us. It's good. We need to act on it. And sometimes what we think is right, what guests want, isn't actually what guests want. Number 5 is guests won't always treat the property the way you would treat it. So it's something we hear all the time is, I would never do that. And I expect that to happen. The fact of running the business of serviced accommodation means guests will be coming from everywhere, from all over the world. These people have different ways of treating property, different ways of treating human beings like us, and some of the cultures just mean things get done different to how we do it here in the UK. So some people don't treat the property the way you would simply because they're bad guests and they're disrespectful and they don't care. But some people do it and they see it as 100% reasonable to do it, just because that's the way things get done in their country and they don't know any different. So Not all guests would treat it the way you treat a property or how you would treat someone else's property. Again, don't get upset with this. It's part of doing business. If you have a property with 100 guests a year for 5 years, 500 guests, you're going to get some people from overseas who are not going to treat the property the way you would. We need to look at it as a business. So number 6 is guests may not always turn out to be who they say they are. So we have lots of checks in place, but we need to draw the line somewhere. And again, we deal with thousands of guests a year. So tens of thousands, I don't know. But some people book for someone else. Some are deliberate fraudsters. But again, they're very, very rare and tend to happen in London and in cities like that. But some people just turn up and they're not the person that's booked. They've booked it for their sister. Somebody might be underage and some adults booked it for them. These things happen. Now, there's a certain level of due diligence you can do. Because if you did super due diligence and made it 100% watertight, like a forensic analysis type thing, you wouldn't have any guests because nobody would put up with it. So there is a line of what you need to do to make sure your guests that are staying are who they say they are. But I think if you've got all these guests and hundreds of guests over the lifetime of your property, you'll get people who haven't booked and who aren't who they say they are. And hopefully there won't be any problems with this, they'll just come and go. And you'll never know. You know, a classic example is like prostitutes. No prostitutes phone up and say hi. And one of the prostitutes we did have was called Busta Bianca because the neighbour saw her going in and googled them and found out that she had her own call girl website called Busta Bianca. Now, she didn't phone up and say, hi, it's Busta Bianca here, I want to book your apartment. She booked it under an Airbnb pseudonym that was normal, that wasn't like a prostitute's in any way. So, but that person was there, and it turns out that person had been booking the apartment for a whole year. You know, once a month, and there was never any problems. By all accounts, the perfect guest. But then the old man downstairs had seen her coming and thought, that's a bit weird in this apartment. She looked a bit kind of done up and for a Tuesday afternoon, and started doing some Googling. Now, they had been in for a year, so it wasn't who she said she was. Her profile was different to the person there, but you might never know these people are in your apartments. But in that instance, we did. Again, it's probably part of being in the short-term lettings industry. Number 7 is a big one. You will get gaps in your occupancy. There's people that have been in courses, they've seen webinars online, they've got friends who do this, that, and the next, and come and say, well, I had gaps in my occupancy. You need to expect it because in some areas it's seasonal and cyclical. Some we do corporate lets where the property manager next door has just got a 2-year let, so there's 100% occupancy for 2 years, but you do need to expect the nature of the business we're in. It isn't the residential let and buy-to-let industry where you can get a tenant for 2 years and someone the next week. There might be stages where, for whatever reason, you're not getting guests or you're not getting medium and long-term contractor and corporate bookings. But definitely don't go into this industry assuming you're going to have 100% income. Depends where you are in the world, depends the type of guest and the type of property that you've got. Means that you might have a month where you don't get any income. It's rare, but again, please expect that to happen. If you've got a portfolio of properties along any length of time, there are areas that get really massive occupancy levels, but we need to make everybody aware that you're going to need to expect gaps in your occupancy. And perhaps there's times when you don't cover your costs. Again, if somewhere like the summer months, you're going to massively make lots of money, and you might need to keep that money to supplement the months at the end and the start of the year where there aren't as many guests. But please expect gaps in your occupancy, and that doesn't matter what courses you've been on, what webinars you've signed up for, however much money you've paid for training, you might not always get 100% occupancy. Go into it with your eyes open. And number 8 is that guests will complain about the most unbelievable things. If you're in this industry, we see people on Facebook and it seems to be the biggest, worst drama in the world, but we deal with that kind of every day. So some people's biggest, maddest guest drama is just something we deal with because we've got so many properties and so many guests. But guests will complain and be weird and do crazy stuff, but they are going to contact you. Some examples: 10 o'clock on a Friday night, calling our emergency phone, our out of hours emergency line, because there wasn't a fish slice in a property and they unreasonably demanded a fish slice get dropped off. There's people that say, there's only 7, it sleeps 8 and there's only 7 bowls, and they wanted someone at like 7 in the morning to deliver more bowls. They just wanted all the guests, everyone, all 7 of them to eat breakfast at the exact same time, but there was only 6 bowls for some reason. Now, that was a customer service fail on our part, or the owner's part. There should have been 7 bowls, there should be double that, so people didn't need to wash, but people can be unrealistic about what they want. Again, this is a topic for another video, but in the terms of what's happening, people do have higher expectations. They don't just see something and think, I'll just make do. The heating's broken, well, we'll put a jumper on. They don't just want the heating fixed, they want compensation. They want you to pay for mental trauma and counselling because they've had such a hard time because they were in a property for 2 hours and needed counselling. Again, you think I exaggerate there, but this has happened to us. People wanted us to pay counselling for their children because they were so traumatised. Guests will complain about the most crazy and unbelievable things. And if you're managing your own properties, you are going to get these people phoning you up at all hours of the night and day. So be prepared for that. And again, if you're going into the service accommodation industry and you get really frustrated about guest calls and how unreasonable they are, and you feel the need to go to Facebook for that, then serviced accommodation is definitely not for you, because you're going to get a lot of these. And you know what? That guest complaint of unreasonableness, of what we might say is unreasonable, but perfectly reasonable in the customer's eyes, is only going to keep going up. So our job as serviced accommodation operators is to provide the best possible experience and plug the gaps. Now, here is 8 things to expect as a holiday homeowner. I'll finish by alluding to the fact that every single day in Facebook and all the forums, we see people talking about these 8 things, and it's the biggest drama in the world. They can't believe it, and I'm going to go to court, and they get really emotional and stressed about it, when in reality, I go onto Facebook and everybody else comments, and it's like, well, you know what? Your biggest problem that you've got, your biggest drama, we've probably dealt with 10 of those this week. We've probably done a couple today. These things just happen to us. It's not to say we don't get disappointed. It's not to say we don't have every effort to prevent these things happening. But you need to understand they do happen. It's part of being in the serviced accommodation industry. And if we go into it with open eyes, these things happen. It doesn't negatively affect our mood. We don't start getting angry and emotional, and it affects our health and our mental well-being. We take an approach to serviced accommodation as what I call rational. It's one of our clients' core values. You need to be rational about this. If you're going to go nuclear because a guest gave you a bad review or nicked a spoon, this isn't the industry for you. You need to seriously consider whether it's right for you. So the 8 things I've just mentioned, we'll try and tag some nice graphics so that they're there for you to look at all at the one time. But I hope this makes sense. And again, I've had a bit of a laugh through this video, but it is quite serious, because we want all owners to fully understand the industry they're going in. We don't want them going in and having unrealistic expectations, because like properties, if the expectation is different to the reality, then there's disappointment in the middle, and you never want to disappoint your guests. We never want to disappoint our owners and clients. And if you're running your own business yourself, you never want to be excited about going into an industry and then doing it, but the reality is disappointing and horrible and you don't like it. So 8 things to expect as a serviced accommodation or holiday home owner. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video.